display properties are another very common property used within CSS styling. When it comes to HTML, we had talked about spans, we had talked about divs. And spans by default were displayed inline, and divs by default were displayed block. And so when we look at the website, we can see that as well, that we've got this inline display. Actually, I should get rid of some of this background here. And to comment out CSS, all you have to do is do this same type of thing here where we do a slash, an asterisk, and then an asterisk and slash to bring it back in. I'm just going to refresh that so it's a little bit more visible. And so with the display properties, we see that the blocks by default, or the divs by default, have these block type properties where they're taking up the entire width of allocated space, and the spans are always just inline. So even though we had a bunch of spans here, I think we can see them here because they're highlighted yellow, they're actually in line with the text. So what happens if we change span display to block? So they're going to act a little bit more like divs, and you're going to see that they're actually going to be taking up their own lines. And then vice versa, if we change this divs to inline, and now effectively what we've done is we've changed the way that divs and spans behave, and we've swapped them around. And that's what you can do with the display properties. Additionally, there's another one that's commonly used, especially if you're using JavaScript to interact with your CSS, and that's display none. And I'm just going to apply display none to that as well. And you can see when I do a display none, it actually disappears. The content, although it's still there within the HTML code, it's not being displayed within the browser. So the browser is able to read and understand that, and in fact it just doesn't display any of the content. Now you might be thinking, well, this is kind of similar to when we talk about display or visibility hidden. So there's a visibility hidden and visibility show. And the difference between display none and visibility is that even though still nothing is showing up here for the divs, that we don't see anything on the actual page, if you notice that the footer actually moved right to the bottom. And that's because visibility hidden still reserves that spacing, as opposed to display none, which actually just removes out that entire element from the HTML. So it removes out that spacing. So that's the difference. The main difference between visibility hidden and display none is that the visibility hidden still reserves the spacing, and display none just simply removes it out from the web page content. So we just change that back to display none, and you'll see that that footer now is going to move up because that spacing is no longer reserved, and display none has just hidden away all of that content.